Oh, okay. Oh, wow. That's changing too. Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. But that's a darn trade. Trade is not going to be used for a whole lot of money. All the financial institutions have gone over that. Yeah. Uh, what they'll do rather than paying trade and using trade is look at the soil and the area for the land and all that stuff, and then they'll figure out what it, so they don't need any trade, but they buy something and see what it's worth in that particular area. Yeah, that's there, you know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, the Clinton.
Hey, Jim, can you do a test again, please?
There you go.
Great, thank you.
Which we said is part of the amendment. And with combine truck, yeah, truck on. That's got back ones. It's like that sort of operation, you know, sort of money question. No, so it's just not stupid. Mm-hmm. Get it ready for them. But now they just, you know, you just set the computer and do it. And riding the foot and just control and just ready. We didn't.
Okay, thank you. It is 6:04 on Tuesday, May the 9th. I'm going to call the study session portion of the meeting to order, and we'll do so by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. For the study session, changes to the agenda?
No changes,
Any communications for the study session?
no communications.
Okay. We have one discussion item for tonight's study session, and that is use of the remaining bond proceeds and state matching funds. And we have Jim McNeil, who is a lawyer, our bond counsel attorney, that is going to educate the board on the legalities of the process.
All right, very good. So we'll ask the board to go and join the audience. We'll have a microphone there for the board to ask questions of Jim. And Jim, why don't you just give us a moment to get situated here? Jim, are you able to show your camera for us? All right, Jim, are you there? Can you hear us? Let's try again, Jim. Yes, there we go. Are you able to show your camera? We have you on the big screen. Oh. Is there a way to fix that there? Well, I guess we'll be looking at your PowerPoint anyway, so is that ready to go? All right, go ahead and try to share your screen, Jim, and we'll see how that works. All right, Casey, can you make Jim the host? Can you turn that over to him? Hey. All right, you can go ahead and get started, and I'll fix the way it's displayed here.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, Jim. I think, can you see if your slide, you can, yeah, can you see if your slide, you can start from current slide? We're seeing the cover slide right now. Right. It's like prior to the showing the presentation. Yeah, that little circle. Yeah, unfortunately, Jim, I think maybe your screen is frozen, but we can see you. Yeah, Jim, maybe try to stop sharing for a second and then restart and share. You're looking great, by the way. Good type of thing. But yeah, I think that'll work. It's fine. Let's not take any more time. So go ahead. You're got the overview slide there, and then you can just keep.
Yes. Yes.
then is not considered a replacement of equipment and therefore not under the Constitution.
Hold on. Yeah, Jim. Yeah, hold on just a sec. Go. Can you go back to the last slide? And I'm sorry to make you do this. We were having a technical issue on our end. Um, could you re-explain the overview? I think where you cut out was the overview of the procedures and the three steps and the three different public meetings. If you could restate that again, please, we would appreciate it. Yes, please.
Yeah, Jim, why don't you stop sharing your slide and then we can see you? It'd be nice. Hey, there we go. You're looking great. Any questions for Mr. Marino? Here we go. Dave Jager, board member.
I would, it seems like it's two different things. One is using the money that we're going to use and then defeasing the rest. We have a real question about how much it's going to actually cost to do those projects. We're looking at 12,300,000, I think, or around that. But we don't know for sure of that cost because of inflation and everything else. I think Joe has done a really nice job of estimating high on the projects. But can we use the money on projects now or as soon as we can after we go through the process and hold off on defeasance until we have all the projects done and then defease the rest of what's left? And that could be less than 2.3 or it might be more than 2.3 but or 12.2 or 2 or 3. Can we do the defeasance at a later date or do we have to do them both at the same time?
Hi, this is Mark Strong. I have a couple questions for you. Um, I was just a little curious, and I read through your literature before this meeting, so that helped a lot. The process by which we decide how we're going to use these funds, if we want to do capital improvements, it sounds like they have to be characterized, for lack of a better word, as alterations. Am I correct in that? Okay, given that information, um, it just throws into question a lot of things. So we have to make sure that whatever we want to do meets that definition of an alteration. So that leads me to questions like safety improvements. If we wanted to do something as a safety improvement, we have to be careful, or can that be characterized as an alteration? Because we're, for example, one of the things we would like to consider is one of the stage doesn't meet ADA requirements for the auditorium. So that would be a safety upgrade or improvement that meets the definition for alteration. Am I correct in understanding this? Okay, another question for you. So, as you said, Joe Conley did a great job, or his team, of putting together a list of projects that we need to look at. If between now, or let's say we come up with this process and we identify a set number of dollars we want to use or thereabouts, are we prohibited from adding other projects if something should come up between now and then that is, in our opinion, of higher priority but wasn't on the original list? As long as it's done before the hearing, is that okay, or after the hearing is too late? Okay. And one more question. So for defeasance, so thank you for that definition. I was a little curious exactly how the taxpayers get that back based on your earlier description. So that really clarified it quite a bit, the later information you gave. But are there time limits on when that must take place for the defeasance? So if our projects or our alterations take us 2 years to do, I mean, that seems like that's too late, or no? It could very likely take that long? Thank you.
Hi, this is Mark Mokel. I'm one of the board members. I want to go back to the word defease. Some of the questions that I have some of the community members that I represent that I've spoken with are under the understanding that they're going to get a dollar figure back in the mail back to them, where actually the defease is those monies will not be collected on a yearly basis. Can you simplify that a little bit for us? Perfect. Thank you.
Jim, this is Michael Thorner. I'm also one of the board members. A couple of questions. Um, for the first meeting, adopting the resolution to set the public hearing. That's that's all that's covered in that resolution is we want to have we want to set a public hearing for the purpose of taking public comment and testimony about alterations to the original 2018 bond resolution. That that's what it says. It doesn't get into, and here are the projects or the alterations that we wish to undertake. Okay, good. Thank you. I know that you talked about that the defeasance could occur after the what I'll call the first resolution to alter the resolution. Could they occur concurrently? Meaning, just to give a little bit of context, with the approximate $19 million, the board has been kicking around this idea of utilizing some of the bond proceeds, understanding that obviously until we put these projects out to bid, it's just an estimate at this point. But utilizing some of the bond proceeds and then defeasing. So I'm not saying these are the numbers, but could we concurrently go through the process of, we want to alter the bond resolution to utilize, let's say, $13 million and then defease $6.1 million and do that concurrently? Okay. Okay. And then, okay, putting the defeasance part of what I just asked aside, in the primary resolution for the alteration, would that call out a dollar amount? Okay. Um, I guess well, I shouldn't say my last question. Let me just ask this. What, okay, so we want to move forward with um, getting to that first, um, hearing. What do you need from the school district? What do you need from us to be able to move forward with, putting together that work to get us ready for that first hearing? That's my first question. And then number two, which is the question that as a lawyer I hate getting, what is approximately the timing once you get what you need for you and your team to do the work necessary to get us ready for that first meeting? Thank you. Other questions from the board members?
When you talk about alterations, part of our request of the 12 million to spend is, I think, close to 3 million for land acquisition. Does that fit alteration?
Okay. I'm handing the mic. Hold on, Jim.
Hi, Jim. I promise this will be my last question. Maybe more of a comment. Okay. So first of all, I wanted to, Mr. Jager does refer to at least what we are looking at right now. I did want to correct the dollar figure he's been using just for the sake of clarity here. So the total projects we have kind of outlined come to about 13.52 million. Um, so that's just to give you an idea. But my big question does center around something like the land acquisition. So that is something that I think is important. We might be able to do that with this. Is there, once we, let's say we were to purchase the land, is there any requirement what we do with that land some point down the road, or are we free to use it as we feel appropriate? Sorry, one more. I hope this will be my last question. So you said something in there that kind of strikes my interest or gives me just something to think about more or less is so between the two types of leftover money, there's the money that comes from the state, and then there's the money that's the excess from the building project itself. it sounds like each one of those can be used for various purposes, if I'm understanding what you're saying. So we want to be careful, and that's where probably you come in and help us make sure that we're using it in the wisest. In other words, land acquisition, we may want to use one of the two funds, one fund versus the other for that purpose, and the same for maybe other projects like that. Is that correct? Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Okay, very good timing. Jim, thank you so much. This has been very helpful and very enlightening. We appreciate you joining us this evening. And board members, we have this as a discussion item during the regular school board meeting, which we will start at the top of the hour. And we'll hold items arising to the regular school board meeting. And so this is where I will adjourn the study session at 6:52, and we'll reconvene for the regular school board meeting at 7 o'clock. Thank you. No, that's not necessary. If we have additional questions, we'll relay them through our through Joe. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Try it again. There we go. Good evening.
Testing, 1, 2.
Yeah.
All right, let's have take your seats, please. We're gonna get the meeting started.
Maybe the basketball players would respond better if I used my best referee voice. All right. Welcome to it is Tuesday, May 9th. This is the regular school board meeting. And we will call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Changes to the agenda.
No changes.
Communications.
Well, we have the responsive public comment as a placeholder. So we'd like to move on to staff retirement recognition. There are 3 teachers from the high school we'd like to honor this evening. I'm not sure if I saw Mark Burns here or not. Is Mark here? Well, Mark actually has the longest tenure, 27 years at West Valley High School. So we can give him the positive karma clap. Next, I know I saw Tom Robinson. So Tom, will you please come up? As he's coming up, I'll share that his hire date was August 21st of 2006. That's 17 years of service for West Valley. So Tom, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you.
And finally, this evening, I'd like to recognize Ann Montoya. So Ann, come on up. Hire date was June 22nd of 2015, which is 8 years of service for West Valley. Thank you, Ann.
Congratulations.
All right, next, I'd like to have Jeff Jameson come up, our athletic director and assistant principal from the high school. We're going to recognize a state champion team for academics, and Jeff Jameson will take it from here.
Hello. Okay. One of the mission statements for our athletic department is producing champions while pursuing championships. And those championships can be on the court, the field, or in the classroom. And so tonight we want to recognize in the classroom our boys basketball team, which was the 4A academic champions this past winter. And so I'll just, head coach is Tyson Whitfield, and varsity assistant is Zoe Juarez. And then in numerical order, boys, Parker Hill, Tommy Molesky, Jonathan Wright, Brady Comstadius, Jackson May, Landon Burley, Brant Neisler, Armour Johnson, Parker Mills, Meech Satadine, and Logan Bremerman. So,
all right, come on up your team, and we'll get a photo and show off that plaque.
So when you win an academic state title, they all got certificates, they got medals, and then they got patches for their letterman's jacket. I was sharing with Dr. Finch that 9 of our teams finished in the top 8 this year academically, and boys basketball was our 1 state champion. So,
All right, and we have a nice plaque there. There we go. We got right front and center. Looks like we got a good photo op going here.
Well, I just, yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to congratulate the team. Academic state champions is a fantastic accomplishment. I also know that y'all had a very successful season as well on the court. But to be academic state champs and represent your school and our district in the manner that you did speaks volumes of you individually and collectively as a team. And I'd also like to say a special thank you to the parents. It's so nice for all of you to come out and support your student athletes. Good job on you. They're not up here without all of your support. So congratulations and thank you very much.
Yep. And finally, just we thank your teachers from the classroom and your teachers on the court. So Coach Whitfield and Coach Juarez are there, and I know your other coaches as well. They've done a great job supporting you, and you've stepped up, and they made us all proud. So congratulations on being state champs.
Dr. Finch, I'd just like to add one other comment, fellas, before you take off there. You know, I've gone to a lot of your games, and one of the comments that I would like to recognize you for is, you know, we talk about sports, we talk about academic achievement, but you guys were great sportsmen out there on the floor. I really appreciate and I want to recognize the fact that in every game I saw, you guys were courteous, respectful of other teams, and you show great sportsmanship, which speaks well of us and actually this whole community. So thank you for that contribution.
And I have something as well. As an educator, I've spent the better part of 35 years of my life coaching. I know the time and energy that I've asked my athletes to give, which is way above and beyond what you do for your 7.5 hours during the day in the classroom. And then to be able to go home at night and do the same amount of work into your studies really does show the type of perseverance and the type of character that you do carry. So as an educator, I think that's always my number one goal as a coach is to win that state academic title. I haven't achieved it as a coach. Someday I hope to with my teams. And so take this with you and be very proud of that accomplishment.
All right. And we're going to stay with the high school this evening. Ben McMurray, our high school principal, has a presentation. And I believe we'll just be able to stay here at the board. We don't have the PowerPoint. We'll just turn it over to Ben McMurray.
I did want to recognize that Mark Burns is here right now.
Mark
if we
is
want
here.
to, yeah.
Hey, there's Mark Burns. All right, no, Mark, you have to come up here. Yep. Hire date is August 26, 1996. 27 years of service for West Valley. Mark Burns.
Seriously, was it okay?
Sure.
All right.
I'm sorry I'm late. We had a Dead Poet Society reading tonight, so I had double duty. This is a new poem that I wrote, and I think it's kind of good for the other retirees, perhaps. And anyway, see what you guys think. Fresh off the press. It's called Balance. Late one fall afternoon, I pause in the Harmon Center parking lot, lean against a chain link fence, and look over the school track and playing field. There is a young father with his daughter there. She's about 6 with a brown ponytail. It's her first day without training wheels. He stoops awkwardly, runs beside her, holding her upright as she pedals around the oval. She smiles, a watermelon at a Sunday picnic smile, and laughs. He holds her up 2, 3 laps. My back hurts just watching. Again, she cries. Again, they go. Again, he stoops beside her blue bike. Let go, she yells, and he does. She crashes into grass. She climbs back on. Again, she cries. Again, he starts her, then lets go. She stays up a moment longer, then crumples into gravel. Again, she insists. So they go, and again he runs with her, longer this time. She doesn't know he has let go. She stays up until the first curve. I turn for home and think that we never stop trying to steer and stay upright. to find our balance around life's daunting curves. We never stop wanting someone to hold us, and still we cry to be set free. Divorced, walking the cliff of retirement, I admire the dad's stamina, the girl's grit. I straighten my shoulders, smile, and say, again.
All right, Principal Bennett Murray.
All right. For our program today, we wanted to really showcase a couple of things. First and foremost, we've been talking about our PLC groups. We've got PLC leaders in our building. The high school level, it's a little bit different for us than it is for the elementaries. They can kind of get into their grade level teams and they can do their collaboration work that way. Ours is more based on departments. And first and foremost, I wanted to make sure that I thanked the board for allowing us to have that time, because every single one of my PLC leaders and every single one of my teachers has said that it's extremely valuable to have that collaboration time for our PLC group. So our late starts, I know it's an inconvenience for some of our families to get daycare or try to get transportation to get back to school, but it's extremely valuable for our staff right now. And I just want to make sure that we recognize the fact that you guys did that and you guys sacrificed that for us. So we really, truly do appreciate that. As we go through this, I did bring my whole team today. So every single department is here to kind of speak to what they're doing. Each department at the high school level is doing something a little bit different because it depends on what their needs are. So as they collaborate, it could be focused on curriculum. It could be focused on organization. It could be focused on their grade books. It kind of looks different, again, like I said, at the secondary level. So I wanted each of them to speak to that. So we do have a large team here today. Each of them knows that they're going to come up and talk for a couple of minutes just about what's going on, how it's working in their PLCs, and how valuable the time is, because I do want to make sure that we recognize the fact that we do value this time, and we would enjoy, some of us at least have expressed interest in having more of that time. So as we go through this, could I get my team to kind of come up and just have a line so that we can kind of get this done quickly?
And PLC is Professional Learning Communities.
All right. First up is Mike Cabbage for science.
I'm Mike Cabbage. I work with the science department. The focus this year has been common assessment. It's taken a lot of time to get to that point where we have the time and we have the team in place to do this. It's been really difficult over the past several years. We've talked about it, danced around it, but having this regular time with late starts has been invaluable. It's been really great in getting us together more regularly. In the past, we had 3 days peppered throughout the year, and having these about once a month has been great to keep a professional conversation going and to build some momentum with that. And we've had success. This year, we had our first stumbles with common assessment, and we've had our first successes with common assessment. I'd love to see more time to work on this, and our department could use that. If that's a possibility, we'd love it. In the future, I'd love to see some time with vertical alignment as well. We've had success at the single grade bands so far with our gen ed classes, and some of the conversations that are starting to happen vertically. I think that we could build on what we're doing at this level. I'd love to see some vertical alignment as an outgrowth of that.
Okay. All right, Jamie Nordstrom representing the math department here with Sean John as well. I represent the state department section. Yep. Right. So we have primarily we've made two groups. We made an Algebra 1 group and a Geometry group. That was Jen Kobe Rosie's idea, and it worked out to be a very good idea. We don't all teach those classes, but everything we teach is affected by those classes. So the two goals were refining the academic goals that we had in those classes, as well as coming up with common assessment items. The Algebra 1 group went more towards the academic goals, and I've been a little bit steering that along the lines of a book I read this summer called Building Thinking Classrooms in Mathematics. And so that's been going on with the Algebra 1. We've got about a little bit more than half of the book done with that. The geometry group went straight to creating an assessment bank to pull from. And tomorrow our plan is to get those two groups together, see exactly what each one is doing, figure out how we can wrap up those two courses in a short span of time, and then put a coordinated effort next year toward Algebra 2.
Again, with the PLC time, it's just invaluable, especially from a special ed department. We know what's going on in the general ed curriculum, and that we could bring some of those strategies into our special ed resource rooms. And so it's been really helpful as far as my teaching and my teaching career.
Hi, my name's Jeannie Martin. I am representing the CT department, and our department is a little bit different because we all teach something different, so we can't have common assessments. So what we focused on was best practices and bringing in, okay, how do you teach vocab? Because we all tend to have vocab in our classrooms or in our curriculum. And bringing in sort of some tools as teachers, because we have some teachers that have been teaching for a long time, and we have some teachers who are fairly new teaching. And so we really focused on that time. We would like to maybe look at doing some vertical alignment, because we have some programs that are at the middle level as well as at the IC, where we could do some what's being taught down there and what can we build on up here. So I think that's kind of where our focus is going. But we really use this time to just say, hey, what's going on in your classroom? What are some things that you do that I can take away from you, and then maybe change it a little bit and then provide it as an opportunity for our students just to learn in different manners. So thank you. Hello, I'm Jana Whitfield. I represent the art department. Really, I love the time to get together as a group, because really we're all so busy and far apart. It gives us a time to kind of reconnect and, like you said, share ideas of what's working, what's not. Again, we have veterans in our art department, and we also have, rather new teachers. So it's just been nice, because I know that I always appreciate it as a new teacher to have someone that would kind of put me under my wing and, show me the things. So that's been kind of nice. We have been from day one kind of working on our essential standards. So across visual arts to musical arts, what standards do we want to hit? What's important? And kind of narrowing that down so that we are making sure we're hitting those. Along with that, Ben gave us like a 30, 60-day plan that he had us create for each of our classes. So, where do we want to be on day 30 in this class? Where do we want to be on day 60 and then 90 at the end? What do we want to accomplish? What do we, want to see? And then revisiting that, because, well, at least for the visual arts, our classes, none of them are a year long. And so, we can see what we did well and maybe what didn't work in the first semester, and then second semester, we're able to kind of tweak things. And so that's been really good. Next steps, really in our back to school meeting with all the art people in the district, we were all excited about the PLC time, and we were going to meet, and we had all this time. Well, and now we're on our last time tomorrow, and we still haven't vertically aligned. And so I would love more time. Just being able to meet up with the younger grade level teachers and just kind of, instead of just emailing, be able to meet face to face and really kind of hash things out to figure out how we can achieve what we want to by the time they graduate. And yeah, I've already voiced it. What would I like to see is probably just, like I said, if it was 2 times a month, that would be amazing. I came from a district where we met every week for an hour. And you were able to get a lot done just because it was, now I feel like we have to spend so much time talking about what we did the last time. So, it's just nicer when it's fresher in your head. But anyways, I've really appreciated the time. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Tony Padilla with the Spanish, or actually World Languages Department. And so we've been focusing on mainly UDL, the strategies, kind of like making sure that we can reach all of our students. That's our main focus right now, even though we also try to focus on common assessments and all of that. But like everyone else has said, there isn't really enough time. And even though we do want to do those things, it's really hard for us to do everything, to focus on all of those things that we know are important. But that's the only thing that we are trying to make sure that we do, trying to reach all of our students by modifying our strategies or what we do, focusing on UDL. But we do appreciate that time together and trying to do things that are going to help our students. Thank you.
I'm Ryan Scott with the PE department. The time, like I said, it kind of echoes what everybody said, has been very beneficial to our program to be able to get together, even with the once a month time frame, for us to be able to we have multiple different classes that we teach in the PE department, but to be able to kind of look at what we wanted to develop really as our main power standard, where our main goal is really to try to teach the kids to gain skills that are necessary for a lifetime of fitness that they can take. And so with that, we've been able to set goals and some learning targets in all of our classes that can be kind of across the spectrum for all of our classes, which has been very beneficial to us to take that time to do that. We are still working on with all of our fitness assessments that we use, from the presidential fitness standards to our bigger, faster, strongers and our fitness classes that we use. Our next steps are even looking like at our team sports classes and how to align a fitness assessment for them as well, along with the skills that they're gaining and the testing that's done there, but also adding a fitness implement to it. And again, like it's been echoed, we want to get vertically aligned with the junior high, especially to see those skills and maybe progress at a even a higher rate at the high school level. I think the biggest takeaway that we've taken is that just being able to discuss and evaluate our teaching strategies for that short period of time for 2 hours and seeing what's working and what's not working in our individual classes, even though from a weights class to a yoga class is completely different, there's still strategies that work for some teachers that we're able to use. And I think it's benefited our students and our classes.
Jeremiah Crandall, I'm here representing English. We decided as far as like how we're going to schedule things that we were really going to, because we have teachers kind of teaching everything. So everybody talking with every class every time was a little bit hard. So we really focused on freshmen and sophomore general ed classes, making sure those are nailed down. So those are the two classes that get worked on every time for sure. So those are the ones we really focused on. And then any of the other ones where they could meet and they needed to work on something, they did. So that's kind of how we scheduled it. I kind of broke it down into 3 things that we've been doing, like 3 phases. One is just like we got a new class and we just need to get that stuff done. So we offered a true crime class. This is the very first time we've ever done it this time for seniors and juniors. So they've been doing a lot of what texts are we using? Are those texts working for the standards? Are they not? Just basic lesson plans and that kind of stuff. So the nitty gritty from the start stuff. So that's what's going on there. Next phase is kind of like represented with sophomores. We introduced a poetry unit in the second semester last year. So we did it once. And this time around, we used the time to nail down the common assessment. So like last time, we just spent the whole time, what are the standards? How are we going to apply them to poetry and come up with a common assessment? So we have that for next year and going forward. So that's kind of the next phase. And then the other one is just where we want to be in the freshman class, where we have common assessments for all the units that we teach. And that's where we want to be so that we can we're just bringing, if we just did an assessment, we're going to bring that, look at how the kids did. Did they struggle on different skills or standards, and think about how we're going to revisit it, whether they do well, that kind of stuff. And if we're not looking at if we didn't have an assessment the time before, we are just basically kind of thinking about what strategies are we using to get to that assessment, what's working well, what's not, and kind of sharing strategies and going back and forth. So that's where we, ideally like to be with all the classes, but we're all kind of in different phases along the way. So that kind of, hopefully that gives you a good idea. And we have, like everybody said, we've used that time and it's been invaluable. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy Osborne. I'm representing the Social Studies Department. In social studies, we have been developing 4 new electives. Several years ago, we convinced, I don't know, you guys probably, to move Pacific Northwest history from the freshman level to the 7th grade level, kind of in tune with the rest of the state. And that freed up 1 semester of social studies credit for our kids to graduate. And so we've developed 4 electives. We surveyed the kids with ideas of what we were willing to look at teaching, and we went from the 8th grade all the way up through the seniors, even though seniors will never take it. And they chose 4. They were war and conflict, U.S. history through pop culture, ancient world history, and U.S. history through film. So we've spent our PLC time this year developing those and creating assessments, rubrics, the whole gamut. So we will be piloting those next year, and looking forward to it. And so we will be using, not all of us are teaching them because it's just one section of juniors, or just one section of the junior year. And so we will be developing some common assessments and rubrics in other classes too, and PLCing on those next year. But this will be part of it next year too. Thanks.
So as we went in the last couple of years, it really did come down to like what the department needs were. And we really wanted to focus on each department individually. And we didn't want to really have a specific template that they had to abide by all the time, because each need is different in depending on which department you're talking about. Some of them were comfortable with common assessment. Some of them weren't. We're all on that continuum where we can kind of continue to progress and have those collaboration conversations. I do want to definitely recognize all of these individuals, because it's not about the money for them. It really isn't. I've gone to them individually and asked them if they would be part of this PLC group. They wanted to take the ownership over it because they wanted to make sure it was meaningful for their department. So I do want to definitely recognize them right now for their work and effort for that. Moving forward is the same thing. They get to develop their own plans all the way through, and we are there to help. And it's interesting also, when we get done with PLC days, everybody seems to have a lot more ideas. Departments come to us and talk about master scheduling more. They talk about which classes they want to teach more. They talk about how they want to, think outside the box and maybe group up classes here and there so that they can combine and collaborate a little bit more with other departments. It's been extremely valuable for us. Difficult to kind of manage all those situations and try to make it work. But honestly, just like our core belief, we want to do what's best for kids. So we're focused on how we can make it better for them, whether it's more electives, whether it's something that they're interested in, whatever it is. We want them to stay here and we want them to get the education that they want. So do you guys have any questions at all?
I have one. I heard several of the individuals describe this. Could you explain a little bit better for us, or any one of them? What is, I hate to show my ignorance here, vertical alignment? So can somebody tell me what's involved in that?
Didn't think so. Yeah.
And we have talked. Ben's brought that request to the table, and we are planning to have one of the learning improvement days in August to be where the mid-level campus teachers and the high school level teachers can come together in their departments and have that vertical alignment from 6 through 12.
So the horizontal alignment is really within our building level, 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, all the way across. They would all the teachers would get together at that point. Vertical alignment is really bringing everyone in the whole district to the table and say, okay, what are they learning in 5th grade? What are they learning in middle school? What are they learning at the junior high? What are they learning at the IC? And then how does that vertically align with everything that we've got planned? And that's one of those things. We only can control our building right now, but now we want to broaden it a little bit more and say, okay, how can we see this as a district and make it better for the kids to actually understand what they're learning and how that continuum works?
Thank you.
I heard a couple times from a couple of your teachers about more time. What are some ideas that you have about creating that more time?
I'm glad you asked. So what we were really thinking about is not just once a month, because like I think Jenna especially said, it's really difficult because when you get to the table once a month, you're really trying to remember what you did last month, where you went and how that worked. And so that takes a half an hour just to kind of set the table. And there goes a half an hour. Then you might have some department concerns that we've been talking about that they need to decide on, whether that's voting or giving some input back to our department members team. And then you're only really left with about an hour of really sitting down and doing PLC work. So we were hoping to at least double that to where we would do that twice a month, and then see how that work goes and see if we need more or if we're good there. And I know that might be a difference across the district as far as buildings go, but at the high school level, we definitely think that twice a month would be very beneficial. We're at the high school level, and you know this as well as anybody, Mark, you're kind of in a silo and you're doing your own thing in your department. You might talk to a couple people that are around you, but you don't get to have the whole broad scope or even jump to another department or even jump to the vertical alignment like we talked about before. And so if we were able to have more time, we could do a little bit more in-depth things instead of it being kind of disjointed.
And are these conversations that you're having with the ad team throughout the district as far as gauging what their interest would be to extend the time?
This is one of the first times I brought it up to Dr. Finch, so I'm sure those conversations will come in the future. I'm not exactly sure where we're at with all the other buildings. I'm only in control of one, Mark.
The data that you're collecting with the different departments, are you using that information as far as your school improvement plan and looking at the nuts and bolts of the school and how to get better?
Yeah, it was alluded to the 30, 60, 90 plans. Those plans really do develop my 30, 60, 90 plans. So as a building, I've got my own, but I can pull from math and say, okay, what are our big focuses on the different departments? We have allocated in our ad team, different departments are our focus. So when we have a PLC day, I'm with history most of the time, but I might bounce into another one depending on what's going on. And then all of our other administrators are in different department meetings. So we're trying to come together and understand that it's all together as a building. These are our 30, 60, 90s as a team. It's not all individualized.
I heard from CTE about being singletons and talking about best teaching strategies. Do you have any time where you do cross-curricular PLC work?
We do, depending on what courses you're talking about. So like Akili Teske that does forensics, but she also does CHS chemistry. She would be in the science department meetings and then also the CT department meetings. It just depends on which month that she goes to which department, which would help if we increase the number of times that we meet, because then she could hit each department once a month, which would be a lot better than what we have right now. So we have that correlation. You know, we've got a Jamie Zeller that does financial algebra all day long. And so she's really focused on the math piece, but she really is a CTE teacher. And so she can see the strategies that other CTE teachers are using and the common terms and how that works with vocabulary, but then also apply that to the math department when they have their meetings as well.
And over time, since you've been implementing PLC and you've been strengthening your PLC process, have you seen that the student achievement data is rising?
I would say that the engagement of the students is increasing. And I say that because we talk more about strategies when we look at data. How did you get that out of that kid? What project did you do? What did you do for that CBA that actually got this kind of quality project or a product out of them? And then when we have those conversations, depending on how we grade those or see those or look at those, when we get to common assessments, it really does show that those kids are working harder and striving a little bit more, depending on what kind of strategies we use in the classroom. Okay. Hard to quantify, for sure. Hard to quantify.
I'll let you off the hot seat.
I appreciate that. Yeah, East Valley's always got to come at me.
Sounds like you're doing good work, though.
I have a couple. Amy talked about the 4 sections of junior in the junior level that you're working on to develop. We have a textbook selection committee meeting here in another 2-3 weeks. When you develop those, will they go to the textbook selection committee before you start teaching them, or do you just start teaching them all on your own?
I will say yes and no.
No. Well, in our policy, we have the opportunity to pilot materials for a year. And so in these new classes, they definitely want to pilot because they have a variety of choices that they're looking at, and they want to look at what works best with the students. And then they'll bring those for adoption after they pilot them.
Okay. Second question, this, you talking about vertical. I was at Tieton Middle School for 5 years. I had a 5th, 6th at one wing, 7, 8 at another wing. And I was amazed when I got there how little those people talked to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did talk, it was 7th and 8th blaming 5th and 6th for not doing a good job, basically. And so I mixed them up, and I had the 8th grade English teacher teach 5th grade. And so she could see where they came from. And that's vertical alignment. When you get an idea of how the people behind you and ahead of you are teaching, it really helps. We tried it at middle school. I had a heck of a time getting cooperation between us and junior high to even vertically align with the junior high. Elementary was a challenge also because there was almost an animosity or a defensiveness between the middle school teachers and the elementary. And again, it was a blame game. Well, you said you kids could all read by 4th grade, but they come to 6th and they can't read. So I'm not sure who's reading what. And it's critical if you get to vertical alignment that your principals are all involved and they're attending the meetings. The elementary principals are attending the meetings along with the middle school and junior high and all that. So that you all have some kind of accountability as you work through the vertical alignment, because I think it's very touchy. It can be very touchy, and it has to be done in a certain way or else it's a blame game. And my last comment was, I was so impressed with high school during COVID and how you people during COVID worked together and you figured out how to coordinate this with this and get things done with those kids when you weren't seeing them. That's when I went to Peter and I said, why don't we give them a day a week? Because obviously, to me, the hardest people to get to work together are high school people. And you really did during COVID. And I asked, maybe we should go that like Yakima does and have an early start or late start or early release like Yakima. But we're not there yet. But you're saying more time. And I would say at the high school, you've shown me that you can use it. And so I really appreciate your efforts.
Thanks, Dave.
Anything else from the board? Okay. Big thank you to the high school team and Principal McMurray. Okay. On to item 7. This is public comment of non-discussion items. Later on in the proceedings, we have 2 discussion items, use of remaining bond funds and state matching funds, and discussion item on a transfer of territory that is a request of a citizen trying to get moving their property into the West Valley School District. So we have public comment on non-discussion items. So not those 2 items, but non-discussion items, anything that any member of the public would wishes to discuss with the board or comment to the board is free to do so at this time. I'll close the public comment period on non-discussion items. On item 8, approval items. First, we have approval of minutes from April 25th, the study session, and the regular board meeting that occurred on April 25th. Any comments, questions, or can we entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I move to approve the minutes of the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. Jager. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve the study session and board meeting minutes of April 25, 2023, 5-0. Approval of travel requests. There are 2. These are girls basketball travel requests. One is to Spokane for Gonzaga team camp and Oregon State team camp. Questions, or we can entertain a motion to take them both or separately, whatever the board chooses.
I move to approve travel requests.
Thank you, Mr. Mokel. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. 2 discussion items. The first one is item 9A, use of remaining bond funds and state matching funds. We heard my commentary on it is very good and enlightening. presentation from our bond counsel tonight on the legalities of the process and getting a little bit more detail and clarification on how we navigate those waters. So I would venture to say that administration, well, first of all, anything that anybody wants to talk about that is free to do so. But I think that administration would be looking for some direction from us at some point to work with bond counsel to move the process along. And kind of my last introductory piece is that we don't have to give that final direction tonight. We can kind of see where everybody's at, take some public comment, come back to the next meeting, circle back up. I don't think that this is necessarily a now or never proposition. So I'll open it up to the board members.
I would like to get moving. I'm not sure. We've pretty much decided that we're looking at. I don't have the numbers here, but close to 13 million of use and the rest defeased. And we now know the process for using it. And from what I heard, you use it and then what's left we defease. And that could be a larger amount or a smaller amount, depending on how much it costs to use. Inflation is not slowing down. And I think we need to get this process going. And also from talking to Joe, it's difficult to get people lined up to do things. And until we have a solid statement saying, yes, we're going to spend this money, that nobody's going to commit themselves. And we need to get moving if we're going to do this and probably save 10% in costs if we just get going now instead of waiting 6 months to get going. So whatever needs to be done tonight, I know it takes 3 meetings, whatever I can do tonight to help the process move, I'll do that. So I'm not sure what exactly that is.
Well, if I may, I think what I heard is we have to set a resolution for a public meeting. That's the next step. And that's, amongst ourselves, we've talked about what we want to do, what we hope to do, and all of that. And there's different approaches that we've talked about amongst ourselves. But with a public meeting, we'll be able to take input from our constituents and our patrons. And with that, will help us with our decisions as to which projects we prioritize and then go out and look for funding or bids, if you will, so we can narrow those figures down.
If we're looking at the timelines, and I guess this is maybe directed to you, Dr. Finch, if we decide that we are going to use the excess bond funds to fund some of those projects that we have, what are we looking for as far as timelines on those projects? With school happening, with sports happening, with the operations of school, we're not going to be able to do all those while school's in session, I would imagine. So I think we need some direction there as well before we decide on taking that step.
Well, basically what Mr. Jager said was something that we could do. We could take the information from the project list that has already been developed. We could map out a timeline for the 3 meetings that our council had told us that we need to follow. And then we could also map out a timeline for when the projects would be able to get started. Some of them, of course, would need to go over the summer. Some of them would not need to go over the summer. We'd be able to identify those and map those out for the board.
Are not a lot of those, won't that be determined by the availability of the contractors, vendors, and the people that supply the services we need to do to accomplish those?
Yes, I agree.
Can one of the meetings be tonight, or do we have to have 3 separate
No, we have to give it 2-week notice.
No, we have to have they have to develop a resolution that sets the public. So
Correct.
of the 3 meetings, they have to develop a resolution that's not just we can vote on this. It's as he talked about, that first resolution is detailed, describing the various projects that we then, and the date and time of the public hearing that sets meeting number 2, which is the actual public hearing. And then public 3 is adoption of the final resolution approving the use of the bond proceeds and unused state matched. So no, we can't do that tonight. We need to direct administration to then work with our legal counsel to develop basically what's the, when do we want to target the meeting, the first meeting to pass that resolution? When is that going to be? When do we want to target and have that public hearing? And then when are we going to target and have that third meeting? So I think that's what Dr. Finch is talking about, is moving forward with our bond counsel and putting together a timeline of targeting those meetings. I think the other thing, just for consideration, is I think we need to be mindful of when we are going to have the public hearing on the school budget, and not have it conflate or get folks confused about. They're two huge issues, but I can see that if we try to lump them all together or that could cause a lot of unnecessary and extra confusion. So as we are thinking about when do we want to have the public hearing, I would also say whenever we target to have that public hearing, I would hope that the district gives more notice than the required 2 weeks for the public hearing, and that it would not be that the public hearing not occur in the month of July during the time that we are passing the operating budget. That would be, I guess, my wishes.
I heard he talked about that we need to develop a list. We have a list. I heard him say you need to have public meetings. We've already had 2 already to discuss this. We've covered the preliminary stuff. We're ready to have the first of 3 meetings. And my concern is to get it done sooner than later. And I would be happy to have meetings related to this on off weeks from the meetings we have on the public. We meet the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month. I'd be happy to meet on the 1st and 3rd for a while, so we can get moving on this process and get it done, and not have us wait until we go through the budget before we finish this. Again, I'm talking about costs. I'm talking about getting things done now rather than later. And I think we have gone through this enough to the point where I think most people know what we're doing. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. If they do like it, we're not seeing a major amount of crowds here complain one way or the other. I think we're done as far as it's just going through that darn process that we need to do. And I'd like to see it done as quickly as possible. So I'd be happy to meet, every week if we need to, every 2 weeks to be illegal on this process and get it done in 6 weeks.
I don't, I hear what you're saying. I guess this is such a huge thing that we're doing. I want to move diligently, but I don't want to move fast for the sake of moving fast either. And I appreciate, I understand the fiscal responsibility of proceeding expeditiously. I just feel like, and it's not meetings. It's The one meeting that I think we should have separate as a special meeting would be the actual public hearing. The first meeting that we approve the resolution setting the public meeting, that can occur during a school board meeting. The public hearing where we take the testimony, I think I agree, should not be, that should just be a standalone separate school board meeting where we take hearing and then move forward with the final, which could occur during a school board meeting. But I think it's just one separate and special meeting. At least that's how I heard it from our council.
Well, if we want to avoid July, we have time between now and July to get all of that done.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the question is having in the second half of June, could that first resolution be ready?
Right. Yeah. Something.
Yeah, I mean,
We can make it happen.
kind of the latter part of June.
We still haven't, as a group, decided officially one way or another on spending the money or defeasing the money. So is that a step that we need to take prior? I heard him say that once we've gone through the 3 meetings, then we would decide then to defease or not defease. So do we first need to make a decision as a group before we start setting these hearings?
Yeah. In my opinion, we've already made our decision.
Well, we haven't had an official vote on it, and I still have a stance that's opposite of yours, in my mind.
And what I've heard is we don't make a final decision until we have a resolution in a public meeting, and then we meet and we vote.
Right.
We don't make a final decision now at all. We wait until the 3rd meeting to make that final decision.
That's correct. And that's at least my understanding. I think we're at this point, several meetings ago, we took a informal poll of the board where the majority of the board favored the proceeding with projects in line with the list that was in the memorandum given to us of March the 30th. So that's why we had tonight's meeting with our bond counsel. Now, the resolution to set a public meeting is just a resolution of the board to set a public meeting. It is not the final decision. It would be in meeting number 3 where we would approve that final resolution.
Right. I was just looking at the calendar, assuming that we could work with council and have that notice to you for our next meeting, which is May 23rd. Then we would be able to give 3 weeks notice to a public hearing, or maybe 4 weeks notice to the off Tuesday that we have, Tuesday, June 20th. That could be the public hearing. And then we could come back on the June 27th with the resolution, and there would be a vote of the board at that time.
That avoids July or August.
Correct.
Or July. Sorry.
If council was available to do everything in that fast time.
For the final one.
Okay.
Mr. Thorner, just a couple of points that I wanted to raise here. And I certainly respect your comment about this is a big decision. It's a huge sum of money, and we do need to be very, careful and just direct in what we're planning to do here. A couple of things that might be helpful as far as I can tell, because I agree with Mr. Jager that, we had actually 3 meetings. And so we've got a good feel from the community. And my sense is the community is divided as we are pretty much in terms of what we're going to do with these funds. But our theme seems to be health and safety on this. And the reason I want to just put the sense of urgency here is because we're coming to the end of a school year. I would like to see that some of these projects, and maybe Mr. Conley and with Dr. Finch's direction, could help us identify which of these items could be done before the next school season starts next year. If some of these items, for example, if we did the football field, that probably wouldn't take place in time for the fall, but the sooner we start, the sooner we would be able to do something like that. Maybe the chiller replacement, the boiler replacement, those could be ready for the fall. It would help us as we go through this process to know some of these items that will take excessive amount of time versus those that would be done very quickly. And to me, that's important from the health and safety angle. Maybe we couldn't do the football fields, but could something be done to make the bleachers a little more safe with handrails in the meantime? So those are the kind of decisions that kind of help me sort of gauge how we go about this. I agree with, and I've been in favor of this all along, where we get the community's involvement, their input. Ultimately, we have to decide. That's what we're elected to do, and we need to make a good decision. But we can use some of these other factors to help us make good, qualified decisions on some of these things. And so as we move forward, I just want to stress that consideration, because the fall will be here before we realize it.
So Peter, are you saying, Dr. Fincher, are you saying by the 23rd meeting, you could have a resolution for us?
Well, that's, yeah, hearing the board and knowing that there's, my understanding, a majority of 3 that wants to move forward with projects, then after tonight's discussion, we could contact our legal counsel that we heard from tonight and work forward with that timeline, see if this timeline is doable. The bringing in the resolution discussion on Tuesday, May 23rd, and giving public notice to a public hearing on Tuesday, June 20th, and then being able to come back on Tuesday, June 27th and vote on the resolution.
It's either feasible or it's not, and it's really outside of our control. So
let's give it our best shot.
We'll give it our best shot.
If one of us were unable to attend one of these meetings, are we able to vote by proxy?
No.
No.
Okay.
But we'll have a quorum regardless.
Right. You can attend remotely, but not vote by proxy.
Okay. Anything else, Dr. Finch? Do you feel like you have the direction that you need?
Yes, I have the direction.
Okay. Can you please introduce item 9B for us, please?
Yes, about 2 years ago, we had a request from a property owner in the Inglewood Heights West area to move their property from the Yakima School District to the West Valley School District. It's very interesting. The district boundaries were set prior to this development happening. When the development happened, the properties are actually split. A portion of the property is in the Yakima School District and a portion of the property is in the West Valley School District. There are quite a few property owners in this development that have that situation. It came to the attention of 2 additional property owners that their neighbor had made that request and that had been approved. And so now we have 2 additional property owners. They're at 6101 Douglas Drive and 6102 Douglas Drive. And they've made the same request to the West Valley School District to be accepted into the district. I have been told that Yakima School District will contest this, that they would prefer not to have the homeowner move school district boundaries. Yakima School District did recently suggest that West Valley could accept the students but not move the property. My understanding is that the homeowners would like to move the boundary, and so we do need a resolution from the school board to accept their request. The administration is recommending that we accept that request. It's a request by the property owner, and a portion of the property is in the West Valley School District as it is. And we're just recommending that we accept this request from the 2 property owners.
And if I read everything correctly, if we do that, we get a proposition where we accept the movement of those, then because of the contention between Yakima School District and West Valley, then it goes to the ESD 105 as a mediator, I guess, for lack of a better term. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
Yeah, there's laws, RCW, that govern the situation, and so the ESD is the organization, our Regional Educational Service District, based in Yakima. So they would basically, it's not actually mediation that would happen. They would pull together a group of citizens that would review, and then they would make a decision. So it would not be our decision. It would be this group of citizens that would be pulled together and formed as a group by the ESD.
You're correct.
Dr. Finch, just a question for you. I read that and it was pretty interesting reading, actually. I was surprised by Yakima's response, given that the parents really want to be in West Valley. Is there any understanding or explanation why Yakima feels that they should not come into West Valley? I mean, any idea? It helps to know the rationale behind their thinking.
Yeah, I really don't want to speak for the Yakima School District. I just know that they, in the past, previous, they approved the move. And so since both districts approved the move, then it was, pretty seamless transition there. In this case, they're not agreeing to the move. And so it will go to the ESD and the ESD will follow the law. And there's a process in place that they'll follow.
See. And if I read that map correctly, the way that dividing, it looks like the larger portion is actually in West Valley. Is that right?
It's a good. I mean, the map is not a legal document.
Okay.
Like the boundaries,
Well,
so it'll
yeah,
be
I don't
interesting
know.
to see how they fall.
Yeah.
But there have been cases where people have requested to move district boundary, even if they're a portion of the property is not in the district, but they just would like to move to the. They have an affinity for the other district. And so it's not necessary that the boundary, it's just that this is such an interesting situation where the school district boundaries go through the property. It's just very odd.
All right, thank you.
Do we anticipate that there will be other homeowners in that neighborhood that will ask for the same resolution?
Really have no idea to predict that. We do see that we had one and now we have two more. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's others.
And would the resolution stay with that home if it were to sell to another family?
Yes, once the boundary is moved, then it's moved.
It makes me think of one more question that Mr. Mokel brought up. So if for whatever reason the ESD approves this one request, if there are other similar properties like that, would they automatically be considered? Or do they each have to go through the same process?
Yeah, they each have to go through the same process, and we would just see what would happen. Maybe in that case, Yakima might not want to fight it at that point. We don't know, but yeah, each situation. And in fact, I did check with the ESD because these are two different homeowners here. But the ESD said since the request came together, that we would do a resolution, one resolution for both properties.
Okay. The reason I asked that, so that means the boundary line has the potential to be a jigsaw.
Right. Well, it currently is a jigsaw. Look at the map. It's,
yeah, I mean,
it's very odd how
between the West
goes
Valley
into that neighborhood and goes back out.
Yeah, even more than.
Yeah. If you look at the all throughout West Yakima, the boundary between Yakima and West Valley is very interesting. How it goes through some subdivisions that were there, and then others came after the boundary was set. So it's just kind of a jigsaw all through those boundaries.
Okay. Anything else on discussion? And we'll take that up as a resolution in just a minute.
Okay.
Item 10, public comment on the two discussion items. I'll open it up for public comment. Mr. Matthews.
Thank you. Just a few general comments as it relates to the proposed project list and I guess timelines. I'm still frankly unclear what the selection criteria for the projects that are on the list are based on. I don't know if they're people's favorites or if they've got the most significance as far as a safety and health consideration, or if the dollar values line up so they make sense in some kind of budget. I frankly don't understand why they've been prioritized. I'm further challenged, as I've shared before, with the proposal to invest in buildings absent a long-range facility plan that says whether or not that facilitates a good financial expenditure by the district. There are elements in the proposed project list that are about replacing pipes and chillers and boilers. That all might be well and good if the intent is to continue to operate that building for 30 years. But if the intent is that the junior high is on the next building to be replaced, then that's probably not a good investment. Are we really going to invest hundreds or millions of dollars in a facility that 5 years later is now ready to be replaced because we've been successful and passed a bond? So again, I'm concerned about investing facilities where that's not part of a long-range facilities plan and where we haven't identified that that future use is in the best financial expenditures of the district and the community. I think I've said this again before. I'm not sure what the value is in defeasing money if you're intending to spend it. You, I believe, have two silos: those who think you should spend everything and those who think you should return it all. I do not think that there's a lot of fence sitters on the issue. So if the school board is going to make the decision, I'm fully in favor of choosing one end of the options or the other. To address Mr. Strong's comments about projects, I don't have the current project list in front of me, and I didn't grab it to pull it up, but I'll typically say that projects in the most streamlined fashion are 3 months in planning. Most projects are 6, 9, or 12 months in planning. As we continue to look at items of construction, and keep in mind, I'm not in this part of the industry on a day-to-day basis, but we continue to hear comments about heating and ventilation systems that are purpose designed to an existing building that are measured not in a month or two, but garner the dates of 72 weeks. I mean, there are items that simply because of the manufacturing and the availability of parts are simply not available. You may recall shortly after Apple Valley and some of you were bid, I had a conversation with the general contractor on that, and their orders for structural steel were measured at 10 months. That's basically, you can put the concrete down, but after that, you're waiting for the structural steel to show up for your building. And so part of the reason Apple Valley and some of you were successful is because of the early bid package. They could place that steel order early and have it show up on time. Otherwise, those buildings simply are delayed because of additional waiting for materials timelines. So chillers and boilers, those are specific to buildings. Those are designed specific to the buildings. Those are all custom constructed. I'm going to guess those are all measured in 9 months kind of timeframes. They're just not things you can turn around. If there is an imminent safety and health issue, and again, perhaps something like repaving the track is something that can be done in 3 months, and perhaps it's specialized enough that a contractor can do that in a more in a faster timeline. But even those kinds of things, I don't think they can be done in a fiduciarily responsible manner with good and appropriate design in a short period of time. So right now, if you, again, they're different structures, but if you want to go build a house right now, you're not going to build a house in less than 9 months. And that's after you've already spent 3 months with the architect. So we just, unfortunately, in construction can't turn things that fast. If you want to build a fence, let's go build a fence. We can get that done in a couple of weeks. But beyond that, I don't think I don't think we have project opportunities. I do wish Mr. Connolly would be here tonight. I do think that there's conversations here that are germane to his areas of responsibility. We right now in the district, again, obviously have him as our in-house resource. We don't have any of the existing relationships that you need in order to drive these projects forwards. You don't have any architects or engineers on board. You haven't solicited those services outside of projects that are already in the pipeline. So it just is going to take time to get those partners in place. And as someone commented earlier, unfortunately, the best people doing that work are all busy. So it is about getting within their project stream so that you can get the best people to provide the best work and to deliver the value we need for the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Other public comment? I will close the public comment period. On to item 11, action items, approval of resolution. So we have one resolution, 2305-754, which is on the issue that Dr. Finch just spoke about a minute ago on the transfer of territory into the West Valley, from the Yakima School District into the Yakima School District, or from the Yakima School District into the West Valley School District. Yakima School District to the Yakima School District. Great.
I move.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll move that we approve resolution 2305-754 on the transfer of the property from the Yakima district into the West Valley district.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. A call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries on the resolution 5-0. Items arising.
Yes, I have an issue I'd like to just share with the board. I was recently contacted by the city manager's office. Some of you might remember that Mr. Harrison attended one of our meetings and was interested in developing a relationship with the West Valley School District, which I applaud immensely. But his reach out to me was regarding my comment on improving Zero Road. And to my surprise, I was very pleased that he wants to actually meet with myself and Dr. Finch to actually discuss some possibilities on what could be done to improve Zero Road. So one of the things I wanted to ask some of the board members here is you can either send me a message or just speak about it right now if there's any ideas that you have for that road in particular. What I mentioned to Mr. Harrison was that I would like to see a sidewalk either on one or both sides of the road. I would also like the idea of a center turn lane, the complete length of Zero Road, where we pick it up even at 72nd all the way up through the high school or where we have it. And then maybe a crosswalk here or there with, I don't know if they call it the crosswalk, where the stripe lines are. If a student enters that crosswalk, the traffic has to stop. Again, all in our theme of health and safety, I think would be a great thing. So he talked about several options that we were going to go over in the near future, but I just, again, wanted to share that with the rest of the board members to start thinking about that. And if you have any thoughts, please share them with myself and Dr. Finch so that when we meet with the city manager, we can let him know what we're thinking about exactly.
And I appreciate that he had some suggestions for some state funding that we could tap into. So that was really good to hear.
Just for clarification, and maybe say this out loud, the city of Yakima is not asking for the West Valley School District to contribute toward these roadway improvements.
That is correct.
Okay.
I was very clear on that. So.
Okay. I just think we needed to say that out loud
Yeah.
for the benefit of the audience members, both here and on Zoom. Thank you. I have one item arising, and it's a question for the board members, as you all received. Thursday morning at 9:30 is the exit meeting for the district of our annual state audit. All board members are invited to attend. However, if we have 3 or more attend the exit conference, even if we do so virtually, it requires proper meeting notice. Stephanie would have to do that. I am unfortunately not able to attend even virtually. I'm double booked. I'm already booked Thursday morning, but I'm just asking the other board members to see how many people are interested in attending and if we need to have Stephanie publish that as a meeting.
I indicated that I would plan to attend. I don't know if anyone else was planning to, but I plan to attend.
Okay.
I'm not sure who else, but I asked and he said we already had 2, so I couldn't go.
Okay.
So I'm not sure who the other one is.
I think it was me, to be
Okay.
honest with you, because I told him I planned on it.
Okay.
Okay.
We got 2.
As long as we have 2, then, then we're not having a meeting if we were going to have more. So, okay. Well, that's great that we have 2 board members. Of course, we'll be getting the full report when the auditor's office issues that. Thank you to the board members. And that's all I have for items arising. Again, if anybody else has anything in items arising.
I have one that I think is going to fit into this category. Being an educator, I have a soft spot for educators and people that work in our buildings. And when we get into the months of May, our principals are recognized, our classified staff are recognized, our teachers are recognized. I just want to publicly say thank you to everybody that makes schools run. We oftentimes we're chastised for the decisions that we make, but the decisions that we make are for the best of the kids. And our staff work incredibly hard. They take home their work with them at night when they're worrying about our kids and the progress that our kids are making. So I just want to publicly say thank you to everybody that works in our schools.
Thank you, Mr. Mokel. Okay. Superintendent's report.
Well, it's that time of year. It's May, and there's lots of activities happening. I for the school board members, I put the list together. For our community, we have all the events listed on the district calendar. If you just go to the WVSD208.org and look at the calendar. But some of the highlights, we have our spring drama production is coming up this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's actually acted by, the actors are students from the mid-level campus. The director and crew are students from our high school. It's a murder mystery, so we have to figure out who done it. Murder on the 518. We have lots of spring concerts coming up. We have farm days. Again, our high school students organize that for the elementary students. That's going to be Thursday, May 18th. We've got the jazz fundraiser here at the high school on Saturday, May 20th, a fun event in the evening. Lots of small group ensembles performing and lots of activities for families. Multicultural Fair, Thursday, May 25th. Dollars for Scholars event will be held at West Valley Church on Tuesday, May 30th. We have a big summer send-off with STEAM on Wednesday, May 31st at the Innovation Center. Lots of other events, but culminating with high school graduation at the Sun Dome on Friday, June 9th. So just looking forward to all these fun events that happen annually in the spring. The summer send-off is something new. We had, as part of our plan for inclusion in our district, we're going to have family-friendly activities that include everyone. So we had a nice kickoff to the school year in August. We had the Winter Wonderland in December. And now we're having the summer send-off. They'll be held at the Innovation Center. Lots of hands-on activities for students of all ages. So really looking forward to all these fun activities this spring. That's the superintendent's report.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Finch. Board reports, board development. And there was an item underneath that.
That's
so maybe
right.
Maybe Dr. Finch wants to talk about that.
Well, I put that in as a placeholder because Mr. Thorner had shared his positive experience with the Washington State School Directors Association, WASDA, their educational equity trainings. So I just want to make sure that we had an opportunity for Mr. Thorner to share his experience here with the board.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's right. So as the board members are required by state law, and by board policy, we are required to undergo training in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so WASDA offers these trainings. And honestly, if I'm being very candid, I was extremely skeptical about. I was very skeptical about what I would be learning. And I will just also note that it was a 2.5-hour Zoom gathering with people from all over the state that occurred at 5:30 at night. So, you know, I just don't work a 9-to-5 job. But so I wasn't exactly, I was skeptical, and I was not real excited about having a 2.5-hour Zoom meeting. But I would say that the theme of the program was advancing inclusion through belonging, and I was really enlightened. I was moved. It was not what I thought it would be at all. It was really just playing on the experiences, the personal experiences that you have in various situations, about where you personally were involved, and you felt, what were your feelings associated with going to a place where you felt like you belonged versus when you felt like you were an outsider, and how did that make you feel, and then talking more about that, not just in our educational experience, but in our everyday human experience. And it was school board members from all over the state. I don't feel like any particular agenda was pushed down my throat. I just thought it was just a very enlightening process, and I came away feeling that really the message from educational leader perspective is that West Valley School District should not just be a place where you go, it should be a place that you belong, and that you belong at West Valley, and that we should be supporting initiatives in our district that create that sense of belonging, because that belonging, as they talk about in the educational research that was shared with us, that sense of belonging leads to higher and better student outcomes of our students. So it was a very, like I said, it was very good. Like I said, it was not what I thought it was going to be, and I was actually very pleasantly surprised. So thanks for letting me share that. And if you haven't done it, they have in person and virtual, and I will also say, I'm not a Zoom. I don't love Zoom. It serves its purpose. Tonight it was fine. It gets the job done. They actually, the way they did it was really well done. How they did it was very organized. So kudos to WASDA. Anyway, that's what I have.
Very good. Any other board development?
Just a comment on that training. I did notice that it is a total of 5 hours, however, before your next election. Is that correct?
Right, that's correct. During your term, you're supposed to do 2 of the 2.5-hour trainings.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right. It is 8:22, and we will be adjourned.
All right.
We are adjourned.
Have you done?
We have something that requires everybody's signature.